who will be talking about Autodesk Forma. Because May of last year, we saw the first release of Autodesk Forma with the vision of integrating workflows and data across project phases and team settings, which, of course, is crucial to unleash innovative AI-powered solutions. Remember to send in your questions via the interaction tool to our next speaker from Autodesk who's here to provide us with insights, an insightful exploration, of Autodesk vision for the future and the novel solutions that Forma offers. Please give a warm welcome to Simen Solemdal Hellem.
Thank you for that warm introduction. And since you referenced the keynote, I'm assuming I'll be on the kind of 6th scale of being ready for the future in that regard. But welcome. I'm here to give some insights into the thoughts of Autodesk, and especially the thoughts of Autodesk Forma, what that is, why data is a crucial part of it, and which part it plays. And finally, how data is an enabler and a product for unleashing these kind of AI-powered future technology that we hope will bridge this industry into the future. To set the stage, every slide is like this. It's a slide with much text. But again, we're a publicly traded company, and this slide only says that what I say in this presentation represent beliefs of the future, and there's no purchase decision should be made on what I say, just to cover that. Fitting image. I assume everyone here at least have an idea on who Autodesk is. So I figured I would introduce myself. Who am I? And there's a couple of points that highlights that. In terms of school, and we have had a great keynote going into this day about education. I like to think of myself as a med school dropout back in the days. I attended med school for a few years, then decided that technology was where my heart belonged. So I changed the degree, did computer science for a couple of years, and then joined what was Spacemaker back in the days, back in 2018, which was a really cool journey. We were a small company then, we grew a lot, and then we were acquired by Autodesk. And through that acquisition, we've grown into what is now Autodesk Forma. And in Autodesk Forma, which I'm part of building and work in the team that's building, I serve as the head of data and analytics right now. And what really drew me into this industry from the beginning was that there's an immense amount of challenges and problems, and if you're able to solve those problems, or at least provide some kind of solution to them, you can have sort of an immense impact on the world that we live in for multiple reasons that people have already highlighted today. So, I highlighted in the last slide that I'm a technologist. I'm not a designer, and I'm sort of humbled to be in a room in which I assume there's quite many that are much better designers than I am. But the really cool thing about technology, and especially the technology, I think, if you haven't hidden very well, most have seen emerge over the last couple of years, meaning AI and the ability for generative AI to take input in one language and then translate it to a whole new domain. I, as a non-designer, can actually start now to, at least in a textual form, envision some kind of future. And it's really fun, and it's sort of amazing what these new tools are capable of. And in that sense, to sort of set the stage for this presentation, I asked the algorithm, or ChatGPT in this example, to generate a ultra-modern, futuristic house that's grounded in today's design environment, but represent leaps in technology and how we do things. And it's cool that I can do that. I'm not a designer, and for me this looks awesome, but I sort of assume and know that many in this room sort of dread the days their clients start bringing this up and say, I want to build this. Show me this, give me this. And one of the reasons is the lack of a data connection. This is just an image, it's just a vision, it's just a drawing. And so the sort of process that could be stops before it even has begun. And that brings us to the actual keynote today, which has 3 parts to it. One is Autodesk Forma and what we call the path to outcome-based design. Secondly, it's all about data. Data is at the center of everything we do now and will do forward. So we'll talk about data, and finally we'll show some kind of in-production examples on how this data is being applied today to build new technology based on AI for automation and AI co-creation. But to introduce Forma, I need to zoom a bit out. And I need to take a look at the transformation this industry has been through in the last 40 years. And we, in sort of a simplified manner, like to think about it as sort of 3 steps. One was drawing to CAD many, many years ago. Second, it was from CAD to BIM. And finally, it was from BIM to actually connecting BIM in the cloud, like uploading the data we have and work on it in a cloud-based manner. And for every iteration here, which is not unique about our industry, more data has been added. More data has been encoded, more data is part of the project, more data is available for all buildings out there. And it's not unique in the sense that I think this has been similar for every other industry as well. We just call it different names. But the challenge of that data, and while BIM has delivered tremendous value, it's still a quite sequential and fragmented process. There's data loss. There's data loss between the phases, and there's data loss between handovers by different players that cooperate in the entire project lifecycle. And this hurts because there's definitely dependencies. It's not like each project phase exists in a vacuum at all. Ideally, the process would look like the top there, the desired process in which we learn from each decision being made and we carry that data forward. But in reality, it often looks like the image at the bottom, in which there's data loss between each phase. And that leads to kind of 2 things. One, we struggle to understand how our decision impacts other decisions being made downstream or upstream. And secondly, which really hurts the industry in the sense that when you start a new project, it's almost like speaking a different language. It's hard to carry on the learnings, it's hard to reuse the tools you've built or adopted. And in that sense, we struggle to really leverage the data that's available to us. In addition to that, the world is quite different, and this is a moving target. First of all, it's, and note what I mean by demand here, and this changes on a sort of a global scale, there's unprecedented demand in the sense that there's a renewed increase of kind of people want to invest in sustainability, we want to build for resiliency. There's demographic shifts on sort of a global scale in which more people are moving into the cities, which put further strain on how we build or how we change what's been built already. In addition, work has changed, and work changed for a lot of us through the pandemic. There's remote work, there's labor shortage, there's an increased complexity of supply chains when you actually build stuff. And finally, as you all know, there's an accelerated digitalization. There's an immense increase in the amount of tools and technology available to us. And the leaps that technology, especially in AI and machine learning, has taken over the last couple of years is sort of unprecedented. It's been so much happening, and there's so many great minds kind of pouring into that industry, so we expect that to continue. So tremendous opportunities, especially in the last one, if we leverage it correctly. And that leads to the question, what's the future of BIM? What's the next generation here? And how will Autodesk play part of it? Just zooming one back. In Autodesk, we've been thinking a lot of this, and we talked to a lot of industry professionals, to a lot of clients, to a lot of customers, to academia, and we've started to formulate an opinion on how the future looks like. And there's two fundamental parts of it which lead to the conclusion. And one, the future of BIM is powered by better and more connected data. We need better data tools that allow us to connect data in a better manner than we do today. And secondly, it's the notion of a digital thread. We need to ensure that we maintain continuity of the data we have, that you can actually see the impact data being generated early in the phase have on handovers and decisions being made later on. And what this means in practice is that we need to have frictionless interoperability. There needs to be effortless collaboration, and we need to be able to reuse knowledge from prior projects. Sorry. If we're able to do that, and the idea here is once that data is connected and seamlessly integrated, we can stop making local decisions, and we can start to make decisions that points towards the outcomes of the projects. We can bridge the outcome, and there's a couple of examples here on sustainability, on cost, and on time to deliver, and we can start the design process with these outcomes in mind. And when that's the case, we believe we can fully start to leverage the power of the technology and AI and machine learning that's becoming available today. So imagine a future in which, as you start the project, you can set these targets, you can set these goals, you can set these outcomes that you're looking for, and you can get help from the technology to explore the solution space that are able to deliver on those outcomes. But we're quite certain, and this has been alluded to by other speakers, that it won't be the case that the technology will fully take over. Use will still be in the driving seat, and that's necessary to sort out the different possibilities, to use the intrinsic knowledge and the artistic freedom that you guys have, to control where this path is headed. And back in the SpaceMaker days, we used the term for this that was AI on the shoulder. And I think that's still relevant today on how we'll approach this future. And that all points to what is the future. And we believe the future is outcome-based BIM based on granular data and AI. That's how it will look like, and how this will come into realization is through Autodesk Forma. Autodesk Forma will realize the future of BIM through the outcome-based approach. But to be clear, it's not meant as a fully replacement, and it's sort of a continuous journey to get there. And we envision a future in which there will be hybrid workflows from the tools you already use, like Revit, like Civil 3D, like AutoCAD, through all the way up to Forma, and you can sort of design your workflows as best fits the project. And what is Forma? And there's layers and layers of details that can be added to this, but on a high level, it's sort of three elements. One, it's the industry cloud for the entire AECO industry. And it's cloud-based and meant to be cloud-based and sort of connect all the project phases. Secondly, it unifies BIM workflows across the teams that work in those different project phases. and operate in that environment. And finally, and that's super important, it's based on granular data that flows seamlessly throughout project phases, through all stakeholders, and regardless of asset type. And Autodesk Forma is out there today, because this is a continuous journey. And it was alluded to that when SpaceMaker were acquired, we continued to work in SpaceMaker or on SpaceMaker for quite a while, but it was re-released as Autodesk Forma last year. And the path towards the vision, which will be an iterative path, starts from the Forma that's out there today. And I did some research going into this presentation, and I think even in the last 2 months, on average, there's been new capabilities being added to that every second day. So it's an iterative process in which we'll work towards the future in an iterative manner. And I think for those that wants to explore this, Forma is out there in all parts or is included in the AEC collection already, and thus if you have that, it's easy to start to work with even today. So that was the first part. From a product perspective, Forma is the long-term play. But the very, very important undercurrent here is data. Data is the center for multiple reasons, both because we need to make data more available than today. And secondly, I think we need to apply a data-centric strategy in which data is at the forefront on everything we do. And that data-centric strategy will eventually lead to what's the digital thread. And that data needs to be of high quality and flow better on a more granular level than today. And why does it matter? It matters because no algorithm or no process can compensate for poor data. And since my background is in data science, I sometimes like to show this short image or cartoon in the way that we often get blended by the technology, that all these awesome models out there, if you train them on the internet, they can do whatever. But the truth remains that in order to lead to good outcomes or have good models, the data that support those models need to be good. So if we are to reach great outcomes, we need great data. And our industry, maybe not uniquely, but certainly on the spectrum of complexity, has a lot of data. And it has a lot of data in multiple formats and deals with a lot of constraints. And I think many of you in the room might have faced a situation here in which you start a project, you're a designer of that project, and you try to build for the best outcome. And there's so much you need to take into account, from regulations, from noise requirement, from daylight requirements, from parking requirements. I learned a term a couple of years ago that was parkitecture. It was very important in Finland, but it sort of states how important each element is. And the fact remains that today it's not easy to bridge this data. It's not easy to evaluate this data at the same time because it comes in so many forms. So we're left with a situation in which there's so many data points to take into account, and it's nearly impossible to even look at them or evaluate them or bridge them at the same time. And this is something we need to work with. We need to make the data more granular so that you actually can pull off the relevant data you need for the decision at hand. Luckily, and it was spoken by Patterns previously, and this is a quote by Mike Haley, who's a senior vice president of Autodesk Research, that there's an enormous amount of patterns in everything we do. So much of what we do is repetitious, in the sense that how we write articles, how we do code, and there's multiple solutions that's been coming into this space as co-pilots, which helps you write code, and in the way we do design. And if we manage to invest in the data, I think we can start to leverage these patterns to build better solutions. And how do we approach this reality? And there's 4 points to this. It starts with the data, and we need, as Autodesk, to build the critical data infrastructure that's meant to be supporting all phases of a project. It should be the AECO data backbone. And that process has already started, in which Autodesk is building new capabilities on Autodesk Docs, which is meant to represent in the future this environment. And we're adding more capabilities that will have more granular data approach and capabilities as compared to today. Then the plan is, and this is a continuous journey, to build new Forma capabilities on top of this data, and do so continuously, starting with the phase we're in now, which is planning. The in-market Forma is mainly focused on the first phase right now. And we'll do this with sustainability and an open ecosystem at the center of everything we do. The open ecosystem is already at play, in the sense that Forma has open APIs in which third-party developers have contributed and are contributing to building new capabilities on top. And we think we'll only approach this feature if we build together with partners. And finally, at the same time, we plan to connect the existing portfolio of solutions to the same data backbone, which ensures that you can work in a hybrid manner across the tools you already use and the tools that are coming. And that leads us to the final point. How will this power automation and AI co-creation? And Autodesk AI, or Autodesk believe we can fundamentally change how we work through AI. Not only through automation, which often is about eliminating repetitious tasks, but also through augmentation or co-creation, in the sense that the AI can help you in a way to express yourself, but also sort through the vast solution space that we're dealing with. And Autodesk AI, which is an umbrella term for all the research that's really happening and the futures we are delivering, is already at play in multiple products throughout Autodesk. And Autodesk is investing a lot into the AI space. We're the leading publisher for AI research. And I think when it was counted, we've published more than 60 papers on AI over the last couple of years. But there's the vision, and there is what's available now. And there's multiple examples on how we've leveraged the latest technology to build new capabilities. And I'll show some of them. The first one, which is in Forma today, is Rapid Win. Rapid Win is a machine learning model trained on a lot of wind simulations. And the really cool thing about this is the normal way of calculating the wind site is take up to 1-2 hours if you do it the traditional way. The model that's trained on the traditional way can deliver those results in seconds. And what it leads to is that you can actually design in an iterative manner, taking this outcome into account. So you can actually design with the outcome in mind. We also have the same for noise, instant noise through machine learning, in which we trained on a lot of noise data, and the model can give results in less than a few seconds. The traditional way of calculating noise is not resource heavy as wind, but still it takes up to 15-20 minutes. And here you get results in seconds, which means you can allow yourself within the time and constraints you have to explore a larger solution space to find better solution and better outcomes. We also have examples in Forma of generative design through Explore, which is the kind of generative design backbone, in which we allow you to test in a very early planning phase multiple layouts, and then you can connect this to the other models we have. Connect this to the analysis, which allow you to kind of explore a vast number of topologies in a quite iterative manner. And I already mentioned that we want to build this together with partners. And we have examples of partners that leverage our open API to build AI-driven extensions. And I'm going to show 2 examples. One is Evolve Lab with Veras, who's built a model that allows you to visualize your design. Given that you add a prompt, you have a few levers to pull in, it respects the geometry, but it allows your imagination to go wild. You can play with this, you can run multiple iterations, and it will respect your prompt to create visualizations that you can actually include in the work you do. We've been playing a lot of this internally when we host kind of internal architecture competitions. Finally, and this is a cool example because recently we hosted the hackathon in our Oslo office in which developers flew in and built solutions on top of our API for 24 hours. And PlacePoint utilized a large language model, which is the technology that ChatGPT is built on, to have it come with inputs that fits into our API, which allow them to generate geometry through prompts. And that geometry could then be analyzed, and thus you're creating sort of a funnel in which you, in one language, text, give input on how your design should be. And many more. There are examples of this all over the Autodesk tools. Wrapping up, looking forward, I think there's sort of 3 statements that at least I personally think is relevant for this presentation. And that's 1, the technology and world around us is moving at an unprecedented speed. And to take advantage and stay updated, one should invest in tools that allows data to flow freely. Secondly, data centricity, meaning you put data at the front and center of your strategy, needs to be at the core of every digitalization strategy. And lastly, AI will and already does offer tremendous opportunity in terms of value. But for every adoption journey, what one should focus on is the outcomes. That's the best way to leverage and start using new technology.
Thank you. Such a humble send-off. It's very nice. Thank you for a super exciting presentation. There are tons of questions, of course. However, we are joined in Stockholm by Àstridur. Let's see. Oh my God, the script went all the way to the intro. Sorry, I got to scroll for a while to find. While I scroll, why don't you answer this question at the moment? Did you say text input geometry? So I can actually just write down, make it a bit bigger, and move it to the right.
In theory, yes. That's what they played with. And this was not at all a finished product. It was 24 hours of hacking. But it sort of just shows you the opportunities that lies there. Because they did this starting sort of day 1, pitching this idea, and delivering an actual working example 24 hours later, which is really cool.
Cool. So now we're joined in Stockholm by Ben Grubert, who is the founder of Ben Grubert Architects, and Àstridur Elin Àsgeirsdottir, head of VDC at Per Aarsleff A, joining us for a panel discussion. And firstly, Ben, what do you say to what the vision that Simen and Autodesk Forma has sent for us?
First, I want to say thanks for a great presentation, super interesting, and I think it hit the right spot. I think it's all about data, all about access to high quality data, what we need for training the AI models. I think it's really crucial that we work together now on collecting this high quality data in order to get further with the AI models. That's what I think.
Àstridur, what's your take?
Yeah, it was a nice presentation, and I'm looking forward to hear more about Forma. I think it's fascinating how far AI can bring us, but I'm a little bit pessimistic about our data and the high-level data we have. But I'm hopeful, and I hope that we can benefit of a program like Forma.
Simen, what do you say to that? A bit pessimistic when it comes to data? Because a lot of your presentation revolves around having granular data, the correct data.
Yes. I choose to be an optimist, sort of have to. But I think it's sort of a challenge for sure, and we need to respect that it's challenging. And it will require effort, both from us as sort of a software vendor, but also from all of you, in the sense that you sit on hosts of data, and how you deal with that data needs to be part of the strategy. Although, given all that, I believe this is solvable, and I'm sort of drawing parallels also from other industries here, because we're not unique in the sense that we're the only one dealing with data. All industries are, and I think through sort of cooperation and working together, we can actually approach the future in which data is a much better quality than today.
Mm-hmm. Now, we asked you guys in the audience a poll question before the keynote, whether we feel secure and ready to start working with AI tools and being fully digitalized, where 1 was not at all and 6 was very much. And I figured we could take a look at the results to see where we're at when it comes to that. The poll is right there, if you haven't answered it already. We have about a 4%, I can see the result right here, 32% give it a 4, and 20% give it a 3. So it's a 3.5-ish. Ben, what do you make of that? Are we ready to become fully digitalized? And if not, what are the next steps?
I think we are on a good way. Absolutely, we made some major steps during the last years, I think. But now I think we're collecting data and using so many different tools. And I think now at this point, it's all about collaboration, that those tools and data, what we have, are talking to each other and streamline that whole process. That's what I think.
Àstridur, do you think we're ready? And if not, what's the next step? What are the roadblocks? Are we ready as humans, as members of a community, to be agents of change, or do we want to sit back and perhaps let others do the mistakes?
Yeah, I am just wondering, what is being fully digitalized? That's my first question. I would like to answer yes, we are there, but I'm sorry, I have to say no. I worked in this industry for 20 years, and with BIM and VDC for many years, and we still just work with people. It's not the problem. Technology is not the problem, but people and the culture and what we used to do. So sometimes we take a little step forward, but sometimes also 3 steps backward. So the technology is there. I believe in the technology, so we just have to get people on board. Mm-hmm.
There was actually one member of the audience who put a 1, but also made sure to send us a note regarding why that 1 was put down, claiming that the solutions only focus on building data, not so much on civil infrastructure. Is that an issue?
Very good question. I wouldn't say it's an issue, because I think part of Forma, and now I'm speaking about the vision, is to encompass AECO, like every part of data and all asset types connecting to that industry. So whilst I'm in the habit of speaking about buildings, it's not meant to be exclusive of other asset types.
Of course.
Yeah.
But perhaps something to look into, how we communicate with different stakeholders, of course. There's another question, and this one is directed, I guess, to you. So we'll just take a short break from the panel discussion. When will Revit transform into Forma? Okay, and remember, there are other panelists in Stockholm, so...
Yeah. I don't have a definitive answer, right, in my presentation, and that's the worldview of Autodesk. It's not like we plan to discontinue Revit. We're planning to create these hybrid workflows, and we deeply acknowledge that these tools are tools that people depend on for every single day in their projects, and they should continue to have that relationship with them. So we don't have a strategy right now that sets a date or anything really. What we want to build a solution that allows, independent of whether you use the Revit or Forma or any other tool, the data to flow freely, which means you can use the tool that best fits the needs, and you don't really need to care about the data or the handover between those tools.
Okay. Now, finally, I want to go back to our friends in Stockholm and ask you in the order Àstridur and then Ben. A couple of weeks ago, I talked to a senior official at Skanska who said, it was emphatically making the point that you don't need to win the AI race. You don't even need to finish second or third or fifth or even 10th to create tremendous amounts of value. Do we tend perhaps to rush into this emerging tech trend a little too fast? Can we sit back and aim for 50th place and still create values? Àstridur and then Ben, please.
Yeah, I think it's right. I think we should keep it simple and use like ChatGPT. It's give us a more enormous, more efficiency in just chatting and making picture like you showed today. Instead of just rushing in and try to build our own IA, even though we maybe not have the data we need to train the AI as artificial intelligence. So yes, I think we should take a step back and keep it simple, take the low-hanging fruits and making that work for us.
Ben?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely we should be careful with what we do today because there are also some backsides and downsides of AI, absolutely. But I'm a bit skeptic of if we can step back because the evolution is so fast and we get new AI tools every day. And I see the risk if we don't adapt and dive into the subject that we are outside. So I believe we have to be very careful. We have to go, of course, one step to the front and two steps back every now and then. But we should really take that subject into account and make it our own way of working with AI in the architecture scene and then the engineer scene, I think.
Simen, what are your final thoughts on that? Keep it simple, use the low-hanging fruits was one message, and also be careful about the risks. Perhaps be okay with taking 2 steps ahead and 1 step back.
I actually agree with both points. I think in terms of being late to the party, what technology development has shown us for the last 20 years is that you're often not too late. Like if that was the case, there's no reason to build an internet company in 2005, and many great internet companies have been built after 2005. But that doesn't mean one should wait. It's more like you can acknowledge that there's still valuable to go into the space, and I think picking the low-hanging fruits, focusing on the outcomes, that's the way to do it. But I think there needs to be a kind of cultural, not necessarily a shift, but a cultural component in place, which allow kind of the architects in the industry to actually go about do that without going through many hoops or many loops and actually being able to explore new technology, because I think that's the way to go about it.
Mm-hmm. Àstridur, I know that you also claim that the human aspect of this is I think you said, called it a stumbling block or a risk of being a stumbling block. Is that establishing a new culture something that you agree with Simen on?
I'm sorry, you have to say it again. The human
element. I'll actually quote you. Human factors in change management are major roadblocks and when it comes to implementing AI. I think that's what Simen's alluding to when it comes to the cultural change. What are your ideas on creating that cultural change?
Yeah, because it's all about people, and people have feelings and emotion and afraid that they are losing their job or somebody is just taking over. And sometimes they think that we are telling them they are doing the job bad right now when we are adding something new. So I think that we will have many roadblocks of people that are afraid, and that's why it's very important to have change management for artificial intelligence, digitalization, BIM, and all these things we have talked today. So human in the focus, people.
Yep. And I think in summary, you talked a lot about collaboration and being at the forefront, evolving these products and these services together with your end users and clients. And from my perspective as a behavioral scientist, getting people together, working toward a common goal is one way of making sure people don't feel left behind even when new trends emerge. So take care of each other when implementing AI. Is that a fair, please let it be a fair summary? Because we're due to go to a break.
Can't really say no.
Okay.
So yes, it's a fair statement.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ben and Àstridur and Simen, for taking part in this conversation, and also, of course, for the keynote. Thank you so much.